Good evening, everybody. Welcome to what I call Kitchen O'Clock. I was making dinner before the live stream tonight, and our clocks in the kitchen, none of them are the correct time. So I always think I have a little bit more time than I think that I do. So I'm calling that Kitchen O'Clock, even though it's only like about 2 minutes behind, and I'm about 11 minutes behind. But I appreciate everybody who arrived early. I appreciate everybody who realizes that I have an interesting relationship with time and knows that they can show up later. Luttrell, you get the award for first arrival and first to check in, so kudos and congratulations. Or as I guess I should say in my best Romeo Cornell, kudos and kadoos. And I saw Anonymous Mango checked in with only 3 questions of the night. And hey, Brenda, nice to see you as well. And Sharon, you got the first question. I'm going to come to you in a second, Sharon. But Anonymous Mango, who once again, I can't pull up the comments and questions, unfortunately, that get posted before I get here. But a Mango came in and checked in, and we'll talk with Nick later about the 41 is the mic hat that I'm very excited about. Since Mango kind of asked a couple of questions that would have been part of my monologue this evening, so I'm just going to touch on Mango's questions right off the bat from previous to the show starting. But first one was about the Chiefs and the game plan against the Buffalo Bills, and maybe a little bit of, am I buying into the conspiracy theory that Andy Reid goes vanilla in games like this, knowing that he may be facing a team later? And Mango, not completely buying into it, but I buy into it a little bit. I do firmly believe that if Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, if this coaching staff comes up with what they think is kryptonite, they think that's something that they can use against the Bills, I don't think they're giving it away. I do think that they stash a little bit back. I don't think it's pure vanilla. I think they try to do some things that obviously they think will work. And Peter, thank you. The stupid microphone setting getting me again. We're going to sound here in a second. So there we go. Hopefully that takes care of business. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that greatly. Gosh, I can't remember the check. I need to make myself my ignition checklist, and not only in addition to showing up on time. Got a lot of problems here, folks, tonight. Thank you for putting up with me. But going back to Mango, like I said, I partially buy into it, not completely, but a little bit. I do think that if the Chiefs have something they think will work, I think they might test it a little bit. I think they will experiment a little bit. I think they will show teams something in a first meeting that they simply want to be on tape and they want them to be familiar with, so that when they show it to them a second time, it's going to be a little bit different. We'll see this from time to time. Teams will identify a formation and say, oh, Chiefs are doing this, it means they're doing that. And sometimes Andy Reid will do something else entirely. So they're very good. The Chiefs are very good at running different plays of the same looks and formations. And one of them, that diamond formation that Nick talked about, and I loved it as well, where they had the 4 receivers, four guys stacked out right to the left, had DeAndre over on the right by himself, and then threw the underneath to the touchdown to Noah Gray. I can see about 18 different variations off of that. I can see bubble screens, slants. I could think you run that in midfield. I know Nick really likes it in the red zone, and there's so many different options that you can run off of it. But Chiefs are going to show that again. Wouldn't surprise me if they showed it against Buffalo, and doesn't mean next time it's going to Noah Gray in the same spot. They can do different things. So, like I said, Mango, I don't buy completely into it. I joke about it a lot that the Chiefs will sandbag a little bit. I don't think Andy Reid will ever admit to sandbagging and, not trying to win every single game. I think he does try to win every single game, but that doesn't mean that they always use all their best stuff. Especially when it's an opponent that they believe or know that they're going to face a second time. So, and do you learn things? Do I believe that Andy Reid runs things, and probably Steve Spagnuolo as well, runs things against a team, wanting to see how they're going to work, wanting to see how it's going to operate the second time? I guarantee you, the Chiefs will not play defense the same way against Josh Allen if they see them in the playoffs as they did in this game just now. They're going to play it completely different. And, does Spags go a little vanilla? I mean, again, I'm not buying fully into the conspiracy theory, but I do think that if they've got something that they believe is going to work, they don't want to throw it out there in the regular season if it doesn't isn't significant. I mean, if this had been week 18 and they had to win to get into the playoffs, then yeah, I mean, you pull out all the stops. But that's not what this was. So, I mean, I do think that if they think that there's something that's going to work in the postseason, they're saving it for the postseason, and they're banking on that. So, I buy into it a little bit. And the second thing the Mango was asking about, and was also going to be part of my monologue, was talking about some of the injury updates and who and when we might see back. I know everybody got really excited about Hollywood Brown's tweet today with the clock. I was told earlier today that he's still a little ways away. His practice window won't be opened up this week. I'd probably be surprised if it was even open up next week. I think December is still the most likely scenario, but we'll see. I mean, all indications are the Chiefs have given us is that his recovery is going extremely well. So I do think that we're going to probably see Hollywood Brown maybe sooner than later. I know that generally the hope for the Chiefs that they had was honestly that he would be ready by week 1 of the playoffs. So anything regular season wise with Hollywood is gravy. But I don't think that we're going to see him in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, no indication. Everything I've heard is that he's not going to be, designated to return from injury reserve and open up that 21-day practice window this week. Possibility next week, but my bet is probably the week after that. Pacheco, pretty good chance. I think that he may be designated to return this week. Probably won't know for sure until Friday. Obviously, the Chiefs still have some time with him and Charles Omenihu. Omenihu will probably take the full 21 days, but Pacheco, if not this week, then next week for sure. But I think there's at least a better than 50-50 chance that he's back this week if all goes well. And maybe the Chiefs will just pull the Band-Aid on Wednesday and say, nope, he's back. But I think that they will. I think they'll be back. I think he'll be back on Friday. Jalen Watson, I don't think it's coming back at all. What I was told is that his injury, while it's actually fairly similar to Pacheco's injury, he had to have an additional surgery. It wasn't just a fracture in the ankle, but there was other damage in that in the ankle and calf. So he did have to have an additional surgery that was a minimum 12-week recovery for a corner. That's going to take him all the way, because that's even at 12 weeks. That's not a coming back, and this surgery was not going to be something that you're just coming back and, hey, you're on the field. There's going to be some recovery time to that. So I'm not counting on Jalen Watson being back even for the postseason. I think his season's over. I know he's wants to come back, and I'm not betting against him, but I wouldn't bet on him being back this year. So I hope the best for him. He's a good dude. I know he's working hard to try and get back, but I don't believe. I've been told that more than likely in the organization views that he is going to be out for the season. So probably not banking on him coming back. Getting into some of the questions, and I saw Sharon. I put one of Sharon's comments. Sharon put it better than I did. It's not a conspiracy thing. It is strategic thinking. I mean, if you've got something that you believe is going to work against the team, and you've got a pretty good feeling you're going to see them in the playoffs at an important time, hold it back. I mean, I've got no problems with that whatsoever. No problems at all. But I'm going to go back to your original question, Sharon, and kind of get us off with the official part of the show here after the kind of pre-show. I know there were some other questions. I think, Brandon, you had some questions. I'm going to probably wander onto those topics. But if you still want to pop up the question, I'll make sure that we get to it. And then I know, hey, brother Rick, I saw you've got the chat, so we're going right to you next. But Sharon, what's the likelihood of the Chiefs winning the AFC with the current offensive tackles securing the 1 seed? Seems better than, I think you're saying better than 50% to me. I mean, here's the thing, and this will be a little bit of a mini rant. I'm not a big time rant or anything, and I'll admit I've been influenced by some of my colleagues who have been looking at this and talking about it, writing about it, and tweeting about it. Influenced a little bit by talking to people in the organization and their kind of takes on it. I mean, I don't see the Chiefs. I don't see the left tackle position as being as much of a detriment as most people do. I mean, is it still a weak spot on the team? Yes. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Is it a spot that's going to keep the Chiefs from winning a Super Bowl? I don't think it is. I mean, every team has weaknesses, and some of them are much more glaring than any weakness the Chiefs have. I mean, the Chiefs are, if you're a Chiefs fan right now, what I'm hearing about, honestly, I hear a lot more about left tackle and cornerback two, as being two biggest needs on this team. And honestly, I mean, I think that the lack of production and true production in the pass rush is probably bigger than both of those. Because if one reason, if you're getting to the quarterback more than the Chiefs have been getting to him so far this season, your cornerbacks is gonna make their life easier. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I mean, is it the cornerbacks to make is it the pass rush that creates good coverage, or is it good coverage that helps out with the pass rush? I mean, it can go both ways, but I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, the Chiefs pass rush is underperforming. Chris Jones has been telling us this. The numbers tell us this. Compared to what the Chiefs have done the last two seasons, when they've won Super Bowls, they've ranked number 2 in sacks with 55. And I rattled this off earlier when I was talking to Ryan Tracy over Locked On Chiefs, and I think I had the number right. But you know what? I'm just going to go double check and make sure. But I think Chiefs have 19 sacks in the season, if I am not mistaken. And at this point, that's not going to get you to 55. I mean, you'd have to really go on a roll to get there. Chiefs right now have, let's pull it up here. They have 19 sacks. Yay, nailed it. That's not ideal. I mean, that's not enough for a team with their defensive line, with Chris Jones, with George Karlaftis, with Mike Dana. I mean, all these guys, they should have better production than that. And conversely, here I am saying that the Chiefs aren't getting enough sacks. Patrick Mahomes only been sacked 22 times. I mean, that's not terrible. That's not the worst in the world. I mean, he's been under more pressure and more sacks in the past than he has been right now. It's just dealing with it. And I saw someone make the point earlier today that that if you look at some of the measurements, that Wanya Morris hasn't been a whole lot worse, and maybe he's even been better in some ways than Donovan Smith was last year. I don't know if I can make that case. I'd have to go back and really look at some of the metrics for Donovan, look at some of the pressures that he was like. I think that, to me, one of the bigger problems, and this is kind of one of those things that's difficult to quantify and to judge, not really a good metric for it in my book, but it's the quality, or I'll go ahead and call it the quality of the pass rush, or the quality of the pressure, because that's different. I mean, if you getting a pressure 0.5 seconds into a play and getting it 2.5 seconds into play aren't the same thing. And I do think that's one thing the Chiefs have struggled with this year, is that when they get beat on the left side, regardless of whether it's been Wanye or Kingsley out there, they've been when they get beat quickly. And that's a problem, because if you're Mahomes, now, hey, if you were giving up pressures a year ago and your left tackle was giving them up at 2.5 seconds, and now you're worrying about one being a 0.5 or 1 second, that's a totally different worry. And I mean, it changes your assumptions, and it changes your thoughts, and the way that you're feeling the footsteps and everything, and what you're looking for. So, I mean, I do think that absolutely some of the problems on the left tackle have been affecting Mahomes. You can see it. There's times that he looks rushed when he is not being rushed. Chiefs know this too. They're trying to address it. So, I mean, this is the long way to answer your question, Sharon, which is, I mean, I still think, I know the numbers will say that the Chiefs are better than 50% to win the AFC number 1 seed right now. I think they're, I mean, statistically, I have to agree with that. I mean, but do I think it's more likely? Yes, because I think that the Chiefs have an easier schedule than Buffalo. I think they're still a very, very good team. Sometimes it certainly does not matter how you beat teams as long as you beat them. I mean, this Chiefs team right now, they remind me a lot of last year's team. and you look at some of the numbers, and they are virtually identical. This is not the 2022 Chiefs. This is 2020, the closer to the 2023 Chiefs, and the 2023 Chiefs had a battle. I mean, this team hasn't had any battles yet, but they have fought. So I still think this is a team that's going to be well prepared going into the playoffs. I think they're going to be battle tested. They look like they're getting healthier. They should be in a very good spot. So, I mean, I still think the Chiefs more likely than not, by far, win the AFC, get the number one seed, and I still think they're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think the path is there for them. We'll just see what happens, but nothing is. Sunday's game did not change anything for me because I thought Buffalo was going to win it going into it. Thought they were going to win it back in May when the schedule came out because this was just. It just seemed this is a game Buffalo wanted. You saw it on Sunday. Their emotion was. They were much higher for winning that game than the Chiefs were lower for losing it because the Chiefs, I mean, that's not their goal. They would love to get the number one seed because it makes their life easier, but their goal wasn't to beat the Buffalo Bills in week 11. Their goal is to win a Super Bowl. So as long as it's not the Super Bowl's on the line that week, I mean, they take it in stride, and I don't think there's any problem with that. That's what championship teams do. So. Oh, Dr. Ozzy, I'm going to come back to you, but I promised Brother Rick I was going to come back to him. And Rob, you are next up. But Rick's question was tying right into this, left tackle situation and the status of Ethan Driscoll in light of Kingsley on the inactive list. I mean, the thing is, we haven't got to really see Ethan Driscoll since training camp. But this coaching staff and this organization has been, I mean, they've loved Ethan Driscoll since the moment he arrived in May. Back at rookie minicamp, he was one of the standouts, and the coaches in the front office's minds thought he did an absolutely incredible job as one of their free agents that they brought in. Had a really good camp. I mean, not to the point where he was ever competing for a starting job, but obviously he won a spot on the 53. Did enough for the Chiefs in that standpoint. When he got opportunities in the preseason, there were some things that needed to be cleaned up a little bit. But what I do wonder, and because I think that if he was the true swing tackle and the true number 3 guy, I mean, I'm not sure that he is. I think if the Chiefs were to have a true number 3 who would go in anywhere, left tackle or right tackle, I think they would have elevated Lucas Niang into that spot. So with Ethan Driscoll being elevated, I think that was probably a little, and let's face it, I mean, Ethan Driscoll might be the number 3 tackle going forward. I mean, he may be active on game days longer than 1 week. Would not surprise me at all. I mean, the Chiefs are clearly in a position where they want to give Kingsley more of a extended break and to give him some time to really truly kind of get things on the right track. And even though I don't think necessarily we've seen the end of him for this season, I think they could come back to him if they need him. But I do think that they're trying at this point to really resurrect him for the years to come because they really do like him, think that he's got a lot of good athletic talent, natural talent that they can tap into. But, with Driscoll, I think that, to me, I think it was a pretty good signal to that if one of their tackles went down, probably specifically if you're talking about Wanye came out, I think Joe Thuney was kicking out the left tackle, Mike Caliendo coming in. Could even be Hunter Norzad. I mean, we haven't really gotten a full glimpse into what the depth chart is on the interior, but I think it would be Mike Caliendo. So Caliendo would come in, Joe Thuney would kick the left tackle. If something happened to Jawan Taylor, that's a more interesting question. That, I'm assuming, would be Ethan Driscoll that would come in. It's entirely possible that the Chiefs would, kick Thuney out to left tackle, move Wanye out over to right tackle, and put Caliendo in there. I think that would probably be your best 5 offensive linemen, and if the Chiefs were following that philosophy, that's what they would probably do. But I do know that Andy Reid and Andy Heck have an absolute aversion of hurting yourself and changing more than one spot due to an injury. Now, that would suggest that even if Ethan Driscoll is going to be the left tackle, that one is, I think, the one that would be different to me. I think that would be, you'd be more likely to consider moving Thuney to left tackle than juggling up the line on right tackle side. So maybe that would be Driscoll over on that side. But, that I think, like I said, left tackle I think would be the exception to changing more than one position. I mean, you're only changing two. If you're kicking Joe Tooney at the left tackle, bringing Caliendo in and moving Wanye to the right side to be changing three positions, I think that's more than they want to do. But if you're true to the philosophy of putting your five best offensive linemen out there, I mean, if you don't have Wanye Morris, I think that your best left tackle is Joe Tooney. So we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, Rick, I mean, I do believe that elevating Ethan Driscoll this past week, and like I said, I would assume that's going to continue going forward for a while. In that case, I think that they would probably do something different at left tackle versus right tackle, but Driscoll has earned it. I mean, the Chiefs continue to talk very highly of him. We don't get to see extended practices during this time of season, so I can't really tell you what he's looked like on the practice field. But I can tell you what the coaches in the front office say, and they've had nothing but good things to say about Ethan Driscoll. So, Rob, do you think Donovan will be signed this week or next? I mean, kind of continuing with the same line, the left tackle question. I'm not sold that he's going to, period. I mean, it's still possible. And, in talking with people in the organization over the last couple of weeks, there's still a little bit of, Donovan's got maybe with his age and injury history, maybe an 8-game season in him. And you think about the playoffs, 3 or 4 games. I mean, if you were going to bring in Donovan Smith, you're probably getting close to that. I mean, I think December would be the time that you would really say, okay, wait a minute. If we're going to think about this, then we're going to bring him in, put him on the practice squad for a couple of weeks to get some work, see where he's at. I mean, we're right there at that point. So like I said, I think it would be a couple of more games, and honestly, I mean, based on what I've heard in the last few days, I think the Chiefs are less likely to sign Donovan Smith at this point than they were a week ago. I think they were encouraged by what they saw from Wanye, and it was not a great game for the entire offensive line, but they thought they saw some things in Wanye. So let's see what happens. But I still think it's on the back burner, Rob. And like I said, I think some of that is just how much time frame that they think that Donovan can handle, and playing football, playoff football this time of year, and with the Chiefs lineup and schedule and everything. Like I said, I think they feel like he's about an 8-game player. So we'll see what happens. But I'm like I said, I my arrow's pointing downward right now on the idea that the Chiefs will go out and sign Donovan Smith. Hey, if Wanye gets hurt or has a bad game, all bets are off. Then absolutely, you're going to be looking to try and add depth there no matter what. But I don't get the sense right now that the Chiefs feel like that the drop off from Wanye or the improvement from Wanye is even significant enough for them to make a move. I think they're trying to improve what they have there, and they know they got to scheme around it a little bit. Coaching up at this point is a little bit of it, but there's only so much you can improve in 2 months' time or 1 month time. One thing you can do is just get more comfortable, and I think Wanye's been doing that. But to the heart of the question, Rob, I think it'll be, if the Chiefs do go that direction, I think we're still a couple of weeks away, and I think the next 2 games could change that decision one way or the other. If Wanye has a couple of really good games, stays healthy, Chiefs may just decide to go ahead and roll forward with Wanye. If he struggles this week, maybe they move even quicker. They're like, nope, we do need Donovan Smith. Let's go get him. But right now, I don't get the sense that it's a super hot button. I mean, they're watching it closely. The Chiefs they're aware of what they have at left tackle and what their situation is, but what to do and when to do it is still kind of up in the air a little bit in this organization. So we'll see what happens. Let's see, where were we going? Rico. With the way this offense is playing, it feels like Chiefs are crying out for an explosive running back in the screen game. Any good options in the 2025 draft? I'm I know I'm a bad person to ask about it this time of year, Rico, and I know Nick will, I would bring it up with Nick too, but I know he will tell us the same thing because he doesn't really look a whole lot at the draft class until after the season's over. If he's watching college football, I know it's mostly the local schools and everything. So I hear some good names out there, but my recollection, the last time that I had some in-depth conversations with talking about the next year's draft class is that the running back class, I don't believe was sounding like it was going to be very explosive. But I know, I mean, I'll speak on Nick's behalf and bring it in. The three of us, Rico, we're on the same page here. I mean, I think the Chiefs could absolutely just use an explosive, speedy back. Kareem is incredible, in short yardage, and but he doesn't have the explosion that he once did. I mean, he's quick, but he doesn't have like that. And he was never a big burst speed guy. I always thought he was faster on the field than probably his 40 time suggested. That helped him in, I think, the big plays in his youth, but he doesn't have that speed anymore. So I don't think that he's giving you a big jump, but he's smart, he's wily, he's still quick, and he's got a lot of strength. So there's a lot of things that Kareem can do. Um, and Isaiah is also a strong runner. I mean, that's not a knock against him. But when we're talking about speed at the running back position, we're talking about guys that, I mean, just flat out can run. And I'm not sure that the Chiefs have any one of those guys right now. There's a few guys out there. I mean, and you know what? J.K. Dobbins would have been a great guy. That's somebody we talked about as a potential free agent signing. That would have been fun. He's got the kind of speed I think you want in the backfield. But yeah, I can't speak to you real good, Rico, about that until, I mean, I start getting into the draft after this Chiefs season's over, so it might not be until February when I get into it, and Nick gets into it a little bit more than that, but probably not much more. So, I did see that our lottery enthusiast is in the green room. So when he gets the gives me the thumbs up, we'll bring Nick into the conversation. Um, W and MB, what's with the talk about Clark Hunt being especially upset after the Bills game? I've seen a lot on social media. Especially since I think one of the original posts about it was deleted. I'm not putting really any stock into it. Um, I haven't heard anything behind the scenes about, so I don't know what it was. I don't know what was made of it, but honestly, with me, it's kind of went one ear and out the other. I that's probably about the only thing I'm going to say about it because I don't know anything about it other than some social media talk, and I don't put a lot of stock in the social media talk around it. So who knows? Peter, yes, that was a correct microphone. Thank you. We fixed that one earlier. Dez, now that Aminu is back at practice, when is the latest that he can be activated? Okay, so let me figure out the math in my head here. So we're at 7 days now. Next week, for say Thanksgiving, will be 14. So 21 days will be right after the Black Friday game. So that would be the last game that he would miss. So he could be back that following week. And I'm trying to remember if there's anything squirrely going on with the schedule. I can't keep track of it. I mean, it's a miracle I can keep track of this Chiefs schedule until Black Friday. But after Black Friday, it all gets hazy and confusing on me about which day of the week the Chiefs are playing on. I know they play the Chargers on Monday night. Yeah, that Chargers game would be the first one that he'd probably be back for. I think they will probably take the all 21 days with Charles. So we'll see, but that's when I expect him back, and that would be the last, the end of the 21-day window for him. So 2 more games that Aminu can will miss, and then he can be back. Chris, what is most alarming? Left tackle, father in time, quickly catching up to Travis Kelce, or Pat Mahomes' footwork? Ooh, good question, Chris. I mean, I just kind of diminished a little bit the left tackle needs, and I probably shouldn't just go back and say left tackle, but I think that's at least, I mean, short term. That's, I know what's on everybody's mind the most. Um, I don't know how much people are worried about Travis. I mean, I think you have to long term for sure. Um, I mean, I still think Travis is going to end up with a pretty good season. I thought before going into this year he'd probably be about 1,000-yard receiver. He's still got a chance to do that. I mean, especially since I do think that the Chiefs are going to be leaning on him a lot late in the season. So I think there's still a chance there. You're right, though. I mean, Father Time is catching up with Trav. I mean, it's he is. You could tell that it was catching up. He was getting a little slower, but he was just so much he's seen so much and his institutional knowledge is so great that he's been able to compensate for that for a few years now. Now it's getting a little bit harder, but gosh, nobody works harder than that guy. I mean, I would probably end up going because and here I am just completely dismissing anything with Mahomes. If there's anything to quibble about with Mahomes and some of the things that are going on right now, and hey, everybody has a theory. It's the footwork, it's the timing. There's an injury that we don't know about, or it's the ankle or something else. There's a lot of theories about what's going on with Mahomes. I still think that my controversial take on it is that with Mahomes, not that he's been perfect. I mean, he's made more mistakes this year than he usually does. And I think that certainly there's some wrinkles that teams are throwing at him defensively that he's had some maybe struggles dealing with. I think, hey, left tackle position situation, I think has definitely affected him. The fact that Travis has not been Travis has affected him. But hey, my belief is that Patrick Mahomes elevates the people around him. I think we have consistently seen it. Um, hey, Tyreek was great here. He's been great in Miami. Maybe he helped Tyreek develop faster. Who knows? I mean, Tyreek was already pretty good when he got here. But I mean, I've seen a lot of other players that have come in with Mahomes and then gone elsewhere and not been what they are, or have been better here than they were elsewhere. And some guys have been exactly the same. It varies. But I think the biggest part of it right now is that, Mahomes has got so many guys injured that he just is struggling. I mean, he can only elevate, so much. And I'm outside of Xavier right now. I mean, does he have anybody who is an ascending receiver? I mean, everybody else do. I mean, and DeAndre's only been here about an hour and a half. I mean, Choo has only been back about 2.5 hours. I mean, what he's had to deal with this year, I think, has been an absolute colossal cluster. So, not a concern to me, but long story short, I need to get, since Nick's here, I have to get quicker with my answers and shorter to my answers. I'll go left tackle. I'm going to wrap it up and say left tackle. There's my answer, Chris. Final answer. Sparkle Sports Cards. I think a new comment here. Do you think that the game primarily about Coach Reed giving reps to the seconds ahead of winning? If you're still around, Sparkle, I might ask you to just clarify a little bit of what you're asking here. It's like you're saying that, I mean, has Reed been worrying about giving more reps to the second team instead of winning? I mean, no. I mean, I don't think it happened against Buffalo. If anything, I mean, I think that they played the ones maybe a little too much against Buffalo. Karlaftis and Chris Jones played a lot more snaps than I would have liked to have seen either one of them play. Both of them were north of 60 snaps against Buffalo, and that's a lot more than I would want those two to play. But your mileage may vary. And with your mileage varying, I bring in our good friend Nick Jacobs.
Hello, Matt. I like your hat.
I thought you would.
It's a real nice hat. It's real nice.
I did mention at the start that I had the 41 is the Mike hat on, but I didn't know how much I wanted to talk about the 41 is the Mike hat.
You can talk about all you want.
I mean, we have two of them.
We do. There's limited edition. There's
limited edition. We have two in stock.
Two of two.
Yes, I guess the question is, was that, hey, if we got a groundswell for the 41 is the Mike hats, would the powers that be invest in some 41 is the Mike hats for sale?
Your guess is as good as mine on that
one. So I guess what we're saying here is that if you want a 41 is the Mike hat, you should let us know. And then we can go to the powers to be and say, hey.
It would have to be in the YouTube comment section so it can be quantified.
There you go. So on this video, on Twitter. You go to
And
Twitter too.
there is no guarantees on that right now.
You can go to Blue Sky. My threads, I'm everywhere. I don't know if Nick's everywhere yet, but
No, I got too much social media
as it is.
as it is. I'm already exhausted enough with the comments I get on Twitter and my own Facebook or Instagram or the threads thing. I just connected to my Facebook and I don't even pay attention to it. So I don't but I don't have time for 18 different social medias. I'm sorry. I like to keep my sanity.
Completely understand that. Is there anything on your mind, Nick? Anything that's just in your craw?
There's a lot on my mind, Matt. But I don't. There's a lot on my mind, but I don't need to rant about it. We'll just go down a road that I don't have time for.
Well, I hope if one of the things that you want to rant about, somebody brings up, that you will still rant about it.
Oh no, they bring it up. We're taking off on that runway. But until it does, I'm gonna keep a low profile.
I just appreciate how much in the green room that you enjoyed the lottery enthusiast remark.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's very accurate. Very accurate.
Oh, right. Now we'll get back into the questions. Your fave, Dr. Oz. What has Josh Williams done to be banished to the Shadow Realm despite Nazi's struggles?
Do everybody want me to be blunt about it?
Might as well be blunt.
It's been worse than Nazi. So, I mean, that's why. If he'd show in practice he's better, if he'd be able to showcase that he can execute what they asked for, he would have been the one starting all along. So I mean, for as much as people want to pick on Nazi, as Josh Allen did 4 times during the game, there's a lot of bonehead things that Josh Williams does that happen, whether it's on special teams or when he's out there in coverage, that you're like, man, that's why you're not starting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really dispute that. I mean,
no, because I'm out here delivering truth bombs.
You're delivering the truth.
I bring truth bomb. I'm in an annoyed mood tonight, so it'll be a truth bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I it's the same things, Dr. Ozzy. I mean, it's Josh Williams has continued. Here's what's in Nazi's favor a little bit is that we have 3 years of tape on Josh Williams, and he's pretty much been the same player the entire time. I mean, he's pretty good as a rookie, and he's been about the same since then. I mean, and that's been one of the Chiefs, issues has been that even in year 3, he still sometimes makes rookie mistakes. Nazi, didn't get any chances as a rookie. Year 2, he had the injury, so he doesn't have any bank of film. And honestly, I mean, in this year, I mean, if I compare the two, I still think Nazi's been playing better. So I think it's evident that he's deserved a chance. And there's some things I really like about Nazi's game. I mean, he plays physical, so he plays tough. And I am gonna take this to go on a side detour because I almost came in here and mentioned this off the top. But Anonymous Mango had 3 questions, and they said it was his only 3 for the night, so I made sure to get them in before you got here, Nick. But
what was it, left tackle, or what was it?
There was one left tackle question.
Yeah.
So, but I saw the quote from Deion Sanders that says that it's not a good thing. It's not a good stat when your cornerback has a lot of tackles. And it cracked me up because, of course, Prime's going to believe that because he's the man who invented the business decision at cornerback. That's like, nah, that's not what I do. That's not my thing. I'm not gonna tackle anybody. So let's just be real. Because most of the best corners that I know tackle. Trent McDuffie tackles people. L'Jarius Sneed tackles people. I like Nazeeh Johnson because Nazeeh Johnson tackles people. Josh Williams actually tackles people. I'll give him that. But of course, Prime's gonna say that, Nick. Dude never made a tackle in his career. If he did, it was an accident.
All right, so what are we getting at here?
That's all I had to say, Nick.
Okay. I don't know where we're going with that, but all right.
I'm done. It was just talking about I would take Joshua Williams and Nazeeh Johnson any day because they tackle. I like them because of that. Prime does not a good thing if his corners are making tackles. And I know what he's saying. He thinks that, if his corners are making tackles, it's because, guys are making catches and they're getting downfield. But Deion never tackled anybody because he didn't want to. So it wasn't because he didn't give up catches. He gave up catches. He just didn't tackle them.
And now he's 50 or 60 years old and a coach, and he'll be here in Kansas City on Saturday.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, Dez. Think the offense is being held back more by Andy or Pat this year?
You go first, Matt.
That's a loaded question.
You go first, Matt.
I mean, Dez
is going to regret asking me this question.
Well, I was going to say, Dez, it's kind of a loaded question because it assumes that they're holding back the offense. And I don't think that either one of them are holding back the offense. I mean, I still think that the offense is being held back because the offensive line, left tackle, has had some struggles. It affects things. It affects a lot of things. But injuries have been a bigger part of it. That the fact that Mahomes has been out there sometimes with just guys that he doesn't throw to a lot, hasn't thrown too much, that's a bigger problem. So just teams had a ridiculous amount of injuries, Nick. I can't blame anybody. Not that, hey, these two guys haven't made mistakes, but that's not the number one problem on this offense. Not my opinion.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not. I probably better just leave it at that, or otherwise it'll be a 7-minute rant that we don't have time for.
Well, we always have time for good rants, but
no, we don't.
There's no reason to rant. Dez is a good. I know Dez's question comes from a good place and with a good heart. So Dez is a good character. So I'm not going to go off on Dez. He doesn't deserve the rant. So, Brandon, why do you think Uche got so few snaps against the Bills? I have a theory, Nick, but what's yours?
No, you got a theory. Go with it.
I mean, my theory is that right now he is a third down pass rush specialist, and the Chiefs did not get the Buffalo Bills into enough third down passing downs.
Nailed it. Nothing else I have to add. Next question. I don't think you realize the amount of stuff I've had to see in my notifications today. Like I'm over the brim of annoyance.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it is that simple. So no reason to break it out anymore. That's his job on this team. Third down pass rush specialist. He might be out there, on a 2nd and 18 sometimes, but that's what he does. And if you end up in 3rd and 2 all day long, you're not going to see a lot of Joshua Uche. Dr. Ozzy, Steele is really struggling in pass pro. Is there a path for CEH being active because of that, or no?
Okay, so you want to activate Clyde just for pass protection. Is there anything else he's going to provide other than occasional pass protection, 4 or 5 snaps a game?
Maybe drive every once in a while. Can he do that?
Can he what?
Can he take a drive every once in a while off of Kareem's hands and just be the running back on a few possessions?
Okay. Do you? All right. Here's my question for you on that. Are you trying to get positive yardage? Because to answer your question on that, yes, he can take carries and he can take snaps. But are you trying to get favorable down and distance and positive yardage? Because if you are, and if they believe that, he would already be out there on the football field right now. Kareem wouldn't be getting 20 to 30 carries a game. Their actions tell you what they think of their roster.
And it's little, but people. I mean, this is sometimes roster decisions come down to the littlest, tiniest of things. Carson Steele played 8 snaps on offense and 5 on special teams. Those 5 snaps he plays on special teams are actually fairly important, and they're 5 snaps that I don't think Clyde can take.
Nope.
So that's the other part of it too. So.
Nailed it again, Matt. You were on fire. He's on fire.
Cody, why do the Chiefs take just sometimes randomly just stop doing what is working? Worthy was heavily involved, and then crickets and not running the ball. I definitely thought the Chiefs would have run the ball a little bit more on Sunday, Nick, but.
Well, Andy Reid agrees with you because he made that comment in the post-game Zoom when I asked him about it on Monday. I didn't ask him about that specifically, just kind of what he wants to take away. And, obviously he talked about that. So that'll be something they'll mark down, they'll learn from. And if they see the Bills again, they'll do it differently. But I don't think any of us truly have an answer for what elected them to try to do X, Y, or Z. There may have been things they saw on the field against the defense that they thought they could take advantage of, and they found out that their tackles couldn't help them take advantage of it. So, you know, those things happen, and they learn from them. And as long as you learn from them now, instead of whenever it forces your season to end, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, part of it to me, and here's a question for you, because, I mean, when they got Worthy involved in the script, I mean, it was clear that was designed for Worthy. I mean, it was stuff they were intentionally running to get him open, to get the ball to him, do all these things. Is it just a matter right now that unless the play is designed for Worthy, he's just not either? Is he just not in the progression or enough into the progression, or is he not getting open? I mean, I feel like at this point that it's if they have to go specifically design something to get him open, then it's like, okay, why isn't he getting open just on a regular play?
So, I mean, looking at the coach's film, because I watched the coach's film over and over and over and over again today. I watched each play, sadly, about 6 or 7 times. So every single play.
About that.
Well, I did. That was at least 2/3 of my day. Then having people curse at me, even though I never said anything on Twitter that they disagreed with that I never said. Like other than that, today it's been an Aces day. So that's why I hit mute this conversation a lot more on Twitter these days, because I don't need something I do for free to become an annoyance or frustration and alter my mood in life. So there was a lot of mute this conversation today after I got done with Coach's film. Started seeing the comment sections like, we ain't, or not comment section, but notifications that people treat like comment sections, and I'm like, all right, we're done with this today. If you wanna learn from it, that's cool. If you want to give your opinion, that's cool. But either way, it's muted. It's out of my life for the day. I don't need that noise. But anyways, so talking about Worthy here. There was a play where he was coming open that I highlighted today on X, but I was showing in 3 plays of that pass protection. The first, the play was the deep pass that Mahomes threw to Worthy that I'm not going to get into because that'll get the rant started. And I know it's a question at 7:44 that you should probably avoid that because then I will unleash on that. But the problem that happened on that one, as soon as Mahomes' back foot hits, as soon as it hits, he's already got a defender that's getting ready to go by him. He's already got another defender that's by the name of Von Miller that's getting ready to undercut Jawan Taylor. And he's got a defensive tackle that's getting ready to collapse in on him. He's got 3 defenders that are getting ready to unleash on him and to sack him. And they did end up sacking him. But that route still isn't even halfway done by the time his back foot hits. So some people would say out there on Twitter, well, you got to throw with anticipation. Okay, the receiver's got to have time to get there first before you can make that throw in front of them, and he's got to clear that linebacker over there. So, anyways, that happens, and then so as soon as and the thing that's happening now is defenders, edge rushers know on that left tackle side, as soon as you go by Mahomes' eyes, he's gonna step up or he's gonna take off in a spot, and that's what they know. But the reason they know that is because he had to take some of those hits for him to be like, I see an escape hatch now. I better take it now while I know it's there, because there's been times where I waited in the pocket and things went sideways and drives ended. And we put more pressure on us, put more pressure on our defense, and we didn't make the plays that we were hoping to make. So like I said, with that one with Worthy, like if Mahomes has time, has the Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz to tackle, they light them up like a Christmas tree. Light them up like a Christmas tree in Buffalo. But they don't have that right now. That's not what they have. That's not the real world that they live in right now. They might in some multiverse, a Marvel that I don't know about, but right now they don't. So I understand with the Worthy thing. Look, I looked every play. Is Worthy open? Is Worthy open? Is Worthy open? And there were a lot. They keep people deep, so he can't go over top. So that time when Mahomes had that ball and he threw it, and everybody's debating about who's at fault on that one, as if it's a traffic accident and they're going to have to handle insurances back and forth and everything, is what? That's what people are treating it as. And so like, but the kicker of it was like, man, whenever I'm watching it live, I'm like, all right, man, like for Worthy, and he's a rookie. That's why I'm not knocking him on this because he's a rookie. But I'm like, dude, if he turns that up, Mahomes is gonna toss that front pylon. That's a touchdown. Just give him the landmark to throw it, man. But I also know at that time that those guards and that pocket is collapsing in on Mahomes, so he's not going to be able to thrust into it with his hip in a way that a lot of people think that he should right then and there, because he doesn't have that room to do that. So he's not going to be able to make the same throw that everybody thinks he can, because people hold – I feel like everybody, whether it's media, fans, whoever, they hold Mahomes to this standard that he set a handful of years ago, but they never factor in, hey, what's the tackle situation like? What's the wide receiver situation like? What is, what's the fact he's gotten hit a handful of times like a human pinata? What's that like? No, people don't want to factor in all those things. They're just like, well, he played at this level. He should always be at this level. Why is he not at this level? And it's just like, that's not the real world, man. There's ebbs, there's flows, there's ups, there's downs. But at the end of the day, that guy just wills himself and finds a way in the postseason to take him to 6 AFC conference championships and all these Super Bowls. So, like, hey, hopefully they're able to make it all happen and have history and have the trifecta and, do everything they want to, have another parade and all those type of things. But I'm just saying, I remember the days when things weren't, when you were just hoping a person could complete a pass 10 yards, let alone, hey, can they chuck it downfield inbounds 50 yards downfield? So I don't know. I could go on and on about it, but I really don't feel like it because it's just going to agitate me more.
Well, that's the crazy thing, because usually the more agitated you are, the more people appreciate and love it. So
yeah, well,
I mean, it's entertaining. It's just maybe not good for your blood pressure.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Although you do bring up a good point that I do like to make every once in a while.
About insurances?
I did like the insurance comparison. That was perfect. But no, we nitpick this team to death, because if this team were, say, the New York Jets, oh my God. I mean, we could just talk about everything could be a topic every single time.
Yeah, but it would be a negative podcast that people wouldn't like.
There would only be about, hey, hey, this guy's good, right? They're like, well, yeah, that's the one good guy. Yeah. No. Gosh, there was something else I was going to add, because I think it was. I know what I was going to ask you, because I was thinking about this and I wanted to get your opinion on it too.
Hopefully it's something that won't
hopefully it won't set you off.
Won't make me agitated.
But that play made me think about it, because obviously if Mahomes throws that out and Xavier takes it to a go route, that's a touchdown.
So, dude, it was a walk-in touchdown, begging to be connected on right there. Like, I mean,
but that's
Tyreek and Mahomes connect on that, and that's like a 70-yard touchdown.
And that's the question, because I think this would fit into the category of, Andy Reid when talking about receivers. You run towards the green grass. You run where it's open. How far along is Xavier to the point where and I'm assuming that just the way that play came out, it was designed for Xavier to run a corner. I mean, yes, I'm just assuming that's absolutely how it was set up. And is it just that Mahomes and Xavier aren't to the point yet where Patrick can trust that Xavier's going to read that and adjust to a go and then just take it straight on down? Or does he still have to throw it to the route that's called, because that's where Xavier's going to go?
I think it's a combination of both. So, like, I think Xavier as a rookie is still learning the finer points of how to be a receiver. And by finer points, I mean most of them. Because on that play towards the sidelines, like you can tell the thought process is going in his head, and and he's trying to remember. I can tell he's trying to remember what he's been taught, and he's trying to do it. But in that moment, in that crucial situation, what he does foot wise is what works in college. It turns into it's a big play at Texas, and so I think he went back to it's what I talk about with muscle memory. In college, you don't have to have 2 feet in bounds, and that's where college does receivers a disservice. But they do that because quarterbacks aren't as accurate in college, so it keeps the game interesting. Otherwise, it's not going to go as well at the college level. But for him, that's something that as a lot of former players have told me over the years, just from a muscle memory perspective, that's something you gotta have thrown to you multiple times. Whether it's a deep ball, you work on that endlessly for hundreds and hundreds of reps and have to get those feet in and be mindful of it to where it becomes second nature. Just like for anybody on here right now, eating or drinking, that just becomes, you're not thinking about it. You're like, all right, I got to pick the cup up, turn the cup, and do it. It's a part of your memory. It's part of the muscle memory. If you're eating, you're like, all right, I got to take the fork, dig the fork in, do this and do that. So it's the same thing for Xavier right now, to where there's parts of what he knows and he's trying to do those, but at the same time, he's still got so many finer points that are normal for the elite receivers in the NFL that he's not there yet, and he may not be there at this point. So, I mean, look, when I watch it over and over again, I'm like, man, that's a touchdown. That would have been a touchdown. That would have been huge for them. And you're like, okay, you just hope that they both learn, or everybody involved in it learns what the heck they need to, for if that happens again in the playoffs. Because the Bills blundered it. It was there, and they could have had a touchdown off of it. So but yeah, because that's where that's all people have been doing, is trying to rate the percentage of who was at fault on that. Today, that's half of what my mentions were.
That is for
people rating who's at fault on it. I'm like, everybody can get better from it. And that's the problem. They're like, well, but I think he was 80%. I think he was 80% of fault on that one. This one's over 20 over here. Doesn't matter. The play didn't connect. So, how do you make sure that connects? Who on the offensive line has to protect better so that connects? What can they do better? Was there something in the blocking scheme that should have been done better that I pointed out on today on social, that if they do that first, if that happens first, if that's executed, then Mahomes probably makes a better throw. Maybe Worthy has a touchdown, and they're raising him on his shoulders like Rudy going off the field for their TD celebration. But that, at the end of the day, that's whenever Andy Reid says that everybody has a piece in it, that's 100% accurate. So that's what I just wish more people. That's where I get annoyed more and more. Other than when people, all right, this is the other thing I'm saying. This is the other rant. Tapped into it, so it's gonna happen. The other piece of it is I'll tweet something out, and I'll say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Doesn't mean that this is what I was taught principle wise, but I don't play for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024 right now, so I don't know if that's what the O-line coach is thinking. I don't know if that's what the coordinator's wanting. I don't know if that's what they're being taught. I could be completely wrong on this. And so I tweet out, hey, here's what it is. Here's some things I think on either side that it could potentially be. But I put it out there in a way that people understand it's not definitive. It's not clear cut, because none of us are sitting in the meeting room. You're not sitting in the meeting room. I'm not sitting in the meeting room. Nobody in the comment section sitting in the meeting room, unless they're a player under an alias right now. And if you are, that's awesome. It's good to see you. But, people will respond back and tell me definitively, this is exactly what it is. I'm like, man, you don't know that. I don't know that. So let's stop. So somebody got upset with me today when I was talking about, and they cursed at me about spying. When somebody asked about this, and I want you to know, if people you're really grouchy on Twitter, well, you don't see my notifications. So I get a lot of people that are very agitated and angry, and they try to they're obviously having a bad day, and then you just listen to the song so you had a bad day to pick their spirits up, and they're not doing it. But like they'll try to transfer that onto me. So you got hundreds of people trying to transfer their negative, the negativity of whatever is bothering them, but they're trying to use an NFL play to get it off their chest so they can, it's like them go jogging, but they're jogging with their words on a keyboard.
With their words
on a keyboard. That's their stress reliever. But like it's just weird because like somebody was asking about like, hey, why do you think that they didn't spy, on Josh Allen? Completely good question. I know other people have that, so I quote tweet it and I'll respond. I'll say, hey, here's why I think, and then I did, and then this one person just come back and started cursing at me about it, and I'm like, all right, well, that's muted. That energy's gone, and we're moving on with our lives. And then I went down the next aisle at the grocery store. So, I was like, I think I need that. Yeah. So, but anyways, but yeah, no, I'm done at this point wandering on that one.
Well, I know everybody in the comment section enjoyed the rant, so I'm hoping it was healthy for you to get it out of your system, because I think you needed to. I don't like you to bottle things up, Nick.
No, I need to eat here in a little bit. That's what I need to do, and I'll forget about everything.
Well, Chris, and bring up his name Fried will probably not be. I know it's probably Freed, but it's spelled Fried, so it makes me
Chris,
hungry.
you let us know in the comment section.
Makes me hungry every time I see it.
But is it Freed or Fried? Is it 1 or 2?
Is it 1 or 2? If Matt Nagy leaves for a head coaching job, will it lead to the return of Eric Bieniemy? I think I know what your answer is, Nick, but
Matt, you go first.
I feel like we should do like newlywed game here or something, and just see if we know the same answer. I think you're going to say no, but I could be wrong.
I told you to go first.
I think Eric Bieniemy always could potentially return in a certain role. I don't think it would be back as an offensive coordinator, because I think that the Chiefs are just moving in a different direction. I think if Andy had to go in a different direction at offensive coordinator, I think he would want to bring in something that he doesn't have right now or hasn't had. And I remember once again, and Andy Reid has reminded of this the last couple of weeks. This is Andy Reid's offense. He calls the plays. No matter who the offensive coordinator has ever been, whether it's Doug Peterson or anybody else, Andy Reid's got, as he has reminded us in the past, has 51% of the vote. And even if it doesn't matter who's calling in the play on the microphone, anything of that nature, who initiates the play, Andy Reid always has final say. Nothing happens on that field without him having the final say, the authority on it.
So you're saying when I see him holding up that sheet all the time, that's not not just for the heck of it?
It is not just for the heck of it. He is looking at the 400 plays on that sheet and deciding which ones they're going to call. And doesn't mean that Matt Nagy might not have. They've gone over. Okay, first of all, they've gone over everything, every different scenario. And this is not really pertinent to Chris's question, but I'm going into the rant anyway. It'll be a short rant, though. But they've literally, in meetings, gone over every scenario about what they're going to call in each specific situation. So if you've got 2nd and 10 on this hash in this part of the field, they know what they're going to run. And they're going to stick to it probably 90% plus of the time. There's only going to be certain exceptions as the game wears on that maybe they'll go out a little off script, just based on the flow of the game and everything. But they go over all of these scenarios ahead of time, and they go over them with Patrick. And Patrick is like, hey, I want this at this particular moment. I want this play here. So they know they're going to call that. It's the voice that I think, during the week is part of the process. And hey, Eric Bieniemy, I think, certainly made the team maybe a little bit more run-oriented at times. And I do think absolutely that the Chiefs miss having a whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to call it something that doesn't include a curse word. But Eric Bieniemy is, I don't know, what do you call it, Nick?
He's a intense results coach getter.
That's a good way of putting it. He's intense. Yes, he is intense. They don't have anybody on the coaching staff right now as intense as Eric Bieniemy. And that's all I think the biggest thing that they miss from Eric Bieniemy, because everybody, I mean, not everybody, probably everybody needs somebody like that at some times, and there's some players who need that a lot more than others. And when you're missing it, you probably are missing something. You're probably missing some fire, because I am certain that there have been a few times that Travis Kelce might probably made a few plays because he was ticked off at Eric Bieniemy. End of rant, which wasn't really a rant.
No,
just kind of an observation. So
yeah, I don't think that's going to lead to the return of Eric just purely because of that.
No, I could see him returning sometime, say as like, you know, an associate head coach or something like this kind of role, or a senior advisor or something like that. But I don't think he's going to be back to O coordinator. I think everybody's past that, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am. Brandon, is the early lack of the early bye week hurting the Chiefs? I mean, the early bye week stinks, Nick. Let's be real.
I mean, at the time, they had dealt with a lot of injuries and needed a reset anyways. So in some ways, it may have helped them be able to keep their winning streak as long as it did. But I mean, in terms of overall health of their own bodies right now, it wouldn't be a thing. But I mean, they'll get a couple days with they'll get a couple days after the Raiders, and then after the Steelers, they'll get a lot of days.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I mean, I know it's still a little too early to talk about that whole bye week, and I've kind of touched on it before that it's going to be an interesting decision for the Chiefs, just depending on where they are as far as playoff needs go and everything. That mini bye week before the Broncos could be really, really cool, or it could really, really stink. But early bye week stinks for everybody, Nick. I mean, I love having a November bye. It's the best, and there's nothing better in the world than having a Thanksgiving bye week. That is, I mean, players love it. I mean, every year, I mean, when players look at the schedule, if they got a Thanksgiving bye week, they celebrate. And I celebrate too, because it is awesome. There is nothing better than that. The only thing that might be better than honestly, the only thing that might be better than a Thanksgiving bye week, I actually think might be playing on Black Friday, because that way you're kind of off on Thursday. I bet Andy's going to let them be with their families during the day on Thursday, and, you know, kind of report to the team hotel Thursday night. So it'll be good for everybody. I don't have to, you know, go into the facility, you know, and trying to figure out how to, you know, cook something in between going into practice or anything, and being there with 3 other people. So I would like a late bye, because I could really, I mean, usually I get a lot of like fall things done. There was no way to do fall things during the Chiefs bye week this year, because like leaves hadn't fallen off the trees, anything like that. So I skipped a few things here, Nick, so I'm going to have to circle back to the people that I missed.
Circle back, Matt.
Circling back. Okay. Brandon, still on the Patrick Mahomes thing. First of all, we're assuming that Patrick Mahomes has regressed, which I'm not necessarily granting the premise, Brandon, but is it due to Andy telling him too much? Is it Mahomes trying not to make mistakes, causing him to make mistakes? Do you have any thoughts in this area, Nick?
Yeah, I already ranted all about it. If you want to do it again? Let's light that candle. All right. Patrick Mahomes, the only reason that they have the Super Bowls they do over the past handful of years right now, and the reason they're as relevant as they are, and the reason they're talked about every single time in the national media, local media, everywhere, is because of how special he has been. So Pat is at this level. He's at a certain level right now. Like, I understand it may not be where it was a couple years ago. He's taken a handful of hits during that time. Not have the same tackle production that he used to before. Doesn't have Tyreek anymore. You know, they need more explosiveness at the running game. So there's certain things that he's going to need that, unfortunately, some pieces around him, some players around him are getting older. Some guys aren't as explosive as they were before. That happens. So when those things happen, you need protection a little bit longer to be able to make some of those things develop. Or your coaches are going to have to make routes a lot quicker to accommodate the tackle production that you're getting right now. So with that said, here's what can happen. They can help chip with tight ends and have the tight ends on delays, or have running backs help chip, or they can run some quicker routes, or they can run the ball and then they don't have to worry about the tackles letting the quarterback get hit like a pinata because the ball's in the running back's hands. So those are all the options that are available to them. Those are the options that they have for what the roster is right now and what the offense can be until Hollywood Brown comes back healthy, until Isaiah Pacheco is back on that football field. There's nothing else they're going to be able to do in the equation with the skill set that they have.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Like I think people keep thinking that because Patrick Mahomes, wore a cape when he played the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl and did everything he could all on his own, that he can still do all that. He's had multiple high ankle sprains since then. He's had turf toe. He's had other injuries that have happened that over that time. He's played in the NFL. He's in like year 7 or year 8 of his career at this point. Like, I'm sorry, but like defenses play other teams differently now. So the explosive plays aren't the same that they were before. Defenses rush Patrick Mahomes a certain way, and if they have good enough defensive ends, you find out pretty quickly. If they have the Max Crosbys of the world, the Joey Bosa's of the world, the Nick Bosa's of the world, the Khalil Macks of the world, those are different type of rushers, or the Denver Broncos defensive line. Those type of rushers are different than what the Buffalo Bills threw at them this week. The Buffalo Bills don't have that. They don't have that same explosiveness defensive line that can cause problems a lot quicker. So I don't know. I wandered in my rant, but I hit all the talking points I wanted to. So hopefully it worked out. If it didn't, then come back later and ask the same question.
Yeah. I feel like to a certain degree that we are all looking for a answer that no one else has come up with to hit on it exactly, what's been the problem with this offense. And it's all kind of a way for us to gloss over the fact that the Chiefs have had 18 different injuries that have hosed up this offense. And that if you had Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown on the field the entire season, this campaign goes entirely differently.
They're very explosive offense. Those two are on the field right now, and Pacheco.
Yeah.
Just a whole different offense, man.
Whole different offense.
They are dinking and dunking, and they are taking people to church. But you don't have that. So you went out and got DeAndre. You went out and you got Juju. You got these guys, and then you went out and got Kareem. There's a reason those guys are here. It's because the other three that were mentioned got hurt. So, like, the explosive roster that they built isn't able to be as explosive as it was before. But the benefit they have with Juju and DeAndre Hopkins here is they can teach Xavier Worthy a lot of stuff that would probably take him till year 3 or 4 to figure out, that if he does it right and learns right, is going to help him massively in year 2.
That is absolutely correct. I completely agree. I should have gone to this question right after the other one about Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy, because Mango, even though he got his 3 questions in before you got here, Nick, I'm allowing one more. I'm out of my generosity. Other than Doug Peterson, who would be your personal pick for OC if Nagy were to leave? And honestly, Doug would not be my pick either, Nick. that was a deep sigh.
What week is it right now?
It's week we're getting ready for week 12, right? Week 12.
Okay, how many more games they got left?
They got 7 more games left before the playoffs.
When's the Super Bowl?
February.
What day is it now?
It's November 19th.
Let's worry about February problems in February. Let's worry about February problems in February.
Those parts are coming in February, right?
Everything's on back order, so in February. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. I get that you want to play in 2025 and 2026 right now, but like, it's Panthers week, man. Just worry about Panthers week. Like, this happens every year. You and I do the show. Like, people want to ask about, like, they want to wish away enjoying the journey of the moment. Like, they're like, hey, well, what 5 things should they do here in this next off season? I don't care right now. Let Britt Veach worry about that. That's what he gets paid for.
Enjoy the ride. Yes. There were. I mean, I'm old enough, Nick, that I can remember plenty of times when there were no rides to enjoy.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different ball game. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
whenever I was watching Tyler Wilson at Arkansas each week, just hoping the Chiefs would draft him because he was a tough quarterback that did a good job in Arkansas, and the Chiefs were still in the middle of their season, but they were going to go 2-14 that year, anyways. So, but yeah, no, I'm not worried about OC right now. Just that's like 5 steps ahead of like things that have to happen between here and then.
And I'm not worried about OC. I am going to make a bold prediction, though. The next offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, after Matt Nagy, whenever that may be, not currently on the coaching staff. My bold take.
Certainly possible, Matt.
So, okay. Now, lightning round. How's that sound, Nick?
I don't believe you.
It is.
That means I have to pull out my timer and start calling you out when it doesn't go.
Well, feel free because I'm going to lightning round up this baby.
All right, we'll find out.
WNMB, does the team ever bring in guys like Mitch Schwartz to coach up young guys? Yes and no, kind of, right, Nick? Because why am I blanking on who it was that worked with guys this summer?
How dare you forget that I told you that? But the person I think you're looking for answer-wise was Trey Thomas, who, if I remember correctly, was the guy who worked with Kingsley up at Chiefs training camp for a couple of weeks because Gruden slipped up and said it in his YouTube video.
There you go. Thank you very much. Yes, and hey, Gary Dieter came and worked out training camp for during OTAs. See, so I don't know if Mitch has been out though. I mean, he's never mentioned it. I haven't seen Mitch out there, and obviously Tamba has worked with guys on the side and everything, so that does happen. But I don't mean, and remember too. I mean, a lot of guys aren't going to do it without and I wouldn't do it without a little. So.
Well, and here's the other thing I want to say. Mitch just recently they just had their first child.
Yes,
like that's a big moment for Mitchell and his wife right now. So I don't. If you go into coaching, like you're going to miss a lot of stuff that, it's a big moment that Mitch has earned with the salary he got and how much he put into it and how much his body went through to start all those consecutive games and do everything that he did. And the guy's got a passion for cooking, very good at being able to analyze food. And I'm still hoping he does a YouTube series down the road here. And I'll keep telling him that. That I want to see a YouTube series someday from him.
I was at Charbar last week, Nick, and I have not forgotten that Charbar said that if they had Mitch come in and do anything, that I could come by and watch and write about it. So I'm still wanting to hold Charbar to that. So,
all right.
Cody, did this coaching staff shatter Kingsley's confidence, or did Kingsley's own expectations do it? Or did NFL defensive ends do it?
So I don't. Here's the thing I'm gonna say, and this is gonna be another one. So this is why it's not gonna be lightning round.
Okay, my fault though. Not my fault, folks.
Far too often, people want us to have the answers for stuff we don't have access for. And it's like, is it this or is it that? I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in the meeting room. I don't know. So, but what we can infer from either the times we've either talked to Kingsley or asked coaches questions and everything, Kingsley went up against a whole different level of pass rushing talent than what I think he realized personally. And he got his welcome to the NFL with Trey Hendrickson. Like in his first one, it was serviceable. I thought he did a solid job for the first one, and where I had for him coming out of college and everything, I thought he did a solid job. I know there were people that felt like he had a lot of things he had to work on, and they thought he did a terrible job. And I understand that everybody's got opinions to it. Totally get it. But then that second one, when he went up against one of the better speed rushers in the NFL, it didn't go well for him, and then they had to go sit him down on the bench. And he's been in the witness protection program since, other than occasionally see him in the locker room or when he had to come in to kind of fill in some spots from time to time. At the end of the day, like the bigger conversation that they're going to have in the offseason is that question right there. And how they go about, how they fill the roster will answer those things for us. So that's when you'll get your legitimate answers. What do they do at tackle in free agency? What do they do at tackle with some of their future contracts? What do they do at tackle in the draft? Those will give us the answers about what they think on that front.
And this is not real. I mean, somewhat related because it's still left tackle related. But I'm definitely interested in your thoughts after you watched all the clips today, Nick. Was Wanye Morris really that bad against Buffalo? From what John saw, he was not the problem people was saying he was. What do you think?
So here's the nice way I can say this. Wanye is a serviceable tackle. He's going to be able to get the job done for the most part. He's going to buy you enough for 2.5, 3 seconds. And that's, that is what it is. But your routes better be within that time, and they better be right within that time. Otherwise, Pat's going to have to take off to go buy time and toss the football around. And when the Buffalo Bills make sure that they have a spy to discourage that, then that's what's going to happen. But the Bills are deliberately rushing that way and leaving that spy because they are banking on what they've seen in film with the tendencies of how the tackle is going to be and how Mahomes is going to be. That's why they're doing that to begin with. So they've given you the answer about what they think by how they've game planned against that. And the Bills, like I said earlier, the Bills don't have a Max Crosby going up against Wanye Morris. And I'm not saying that that's Wanye's fault, but I'm saying people would be more up in arms if he had to go up against some of the elite rushers that are out there in the league. Like if he'd gone up against TJ Watt, or if he gets the opportunity to go up against TJ Watt when they play the Steelers on Christmas Day, TJ Watt's pushing for Defensive Player of the Year. He's so good that that's going to be a problem no matter which tackle is going against him. So it's just this week they're going to play the Panthers, and from what I watched on the Panthers don't have a pass rush. Panthers do not have a pass rush, and if they're still able
Panthers are pretty inept.
But here's the point I'm making: is the Panthers don't have a pass rush, and if they're able to get pressure on Mahomes, that's concerning. But that's what I'm saying. If it's one thing if a team has some good to very elite rushers, or they have a really good overall defensive pressure scheme and everything that complements one another, but when average or below average pass rushes can still cause problems, that's where the red flags actually are. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, let me just put it this way. The Bills don't have premium pass rushers, and they still were getting pressure they shouldn't have been able to get.
Yeah, you're going to be more and more worried about that Christmas Day game against the Steelers then.
You should be, because that Steelers defense is fantastic.
Yeah.
But, again, there's a lot of games between now and then, and injuries happen. That's all I'm saying.
It is 26 days away, so that's it. You can worry about it more than worrying about who's going to be the offensive coordinator in February, but you can start worrying about it a little bit.
I'm good.
Bobby's got a couple of super chats for us here, Nick. So be on your P's and Q's here. We're got to get, weren't the Chiefs high on Najee? Are they still? I mean, long term, short term. I mean, I'm thinking about the fact, hey, he's a 7th round draft pick, Nick. I mean, so hey, if you hit on a 7th round draft pick, you're really, really excited. And in year one, he was entirely special teams. Only signed him because I think, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was maybe the Raiders were trying to sign him to their active roster, and the Chiefs were like, "No, you're not taking him. We're putting you on the 53." Yeah. And he just played special teams. And then he had an outstanding OTAs and training camp in year 2 before the injury. And the Chiefs were I mean, they were hopeful he could pick up where he left off. But here's the secret that once again everybody seems to forget about is that you're not 100% the first year coming back from an ACL. Every player I've ever talked to has always said that. I mean, even if they come back and they say, "Yeah, I feel 100%," come back to them a year later and they're like, "No, I wasn't anywhere close to 100%. I mean, I feel 100% now, but it's like night and day difference." It's where Tershawn Wharton is right now, and Tershawn Wharton looks night and day from what he was last year. I mean, I have no doubt that Najee Johnson is going to look like a whole different player next year. If you're the Chiefs, you should be pretty excited about that because in his contract year, he's probably going to have a heck of a season. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs are still high on Najee. I think they feel like the ceiling from this year and the experience that he's getting is just going to help him next year. But this year, I mean, he's fighting through it. I mean, he's doing what he can. And I mean, honestly, obviously, Chiefs have him out there being their number 2 guy. They feel pretty good about him. But is he 100%? Is he the best that he can be right now? I think he's going to be better next year. Lightning round. That was my lightning round answer, Nick.
Nailed it.
Nothing to add? Did I take care of it?
No.
No.
Okay, add. Don't have anything to add. He's going to be cornerback too. So I'm not upset about it. Not mad about it or anything. He's the best I got available right now. And so the roster is rolling right now. So that's what he's just going to keep improving.
Well, now I'm depressed again.
Well, that's your fault for asking if I had anything to add.
And Bobby also wants to know what's the percentage chance that Hollywood returns by the playoffs? I mean, I'd put it at like 98, 99%. I mean, only barring another, terrible setback will he not be out there by the playoffs. Like I talked about off the beginning of the show, I know he tweeted out the alarm clock, but and that probably has some significance to him as far as a threshold in his recovery and progress that he has passed that we just have not become privy to. But
or it could just mean he bought a new alarm clock that he's really excited about.
Could be he just overslept, woke up this afternoon, decided alarm clock. Yeah, you never know.
He went to Target and bought a new one.
I know it's not going to be activated this week. That's still at least a couple of weeks off. So I'm still targeting December that he's going to get that practice window open. If he gets on the field before January, that to me is gravy. But I think, yes, by the playoffs, barring a setback, you will see him. And then KL368, also super chat. Thank you very much. Very, very kind of you, very generous. Piggybacking off of Bobby's question, what is the fascination with Najee for the staff? I remember last year they were slotting him in front of Josh and Jalen during camp with 0 defensive snaps. I'll let you take it this time, Nick.
All right, what are we doing now about Najee?
What's the fascination for Najee? Because last year they were slotting him in front of Josh and Jalen during camp, even though he hadn't had a defensive snap yet.
All right, I should probably have my tab open so I can see it, and I can see your question again.
I need to let you have dinner here pretty soon.
So I don't look. They feel he's the best available athletically, and probably does what they're coaching him to do. So that's why they have him on the football field.
I mean, there's reasons why they're going with him instead of the other options they have, other than Josh Williams, other than Chris Roland Wallace. I mean, they do feel like he's the best option at this point.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything? My only question is,
I'm looking at the comment section right now, and I already saw another one of my pet peeves.
Oh, no. People, what are you doing to set Nick off?
Just continue on. Let's go. Lightning round.
Lightning round. Oh, people. I'm going to get a question for today. I'm going to come with the question, and I'm going to have some problems with some of you people, it sounds like.
Matt, you're cutting in and out.
Uh-oh. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back now. Your internet's catching up again.
Uh-oh. My connection is fairly good, is what it says right now.
You're in the ballpark.
Excellent. Well, there you go. Apparently the feed is back at full speed. So,
congrats. Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Where was I? We'll just start here. Robert, is it just me or does Xavier Worthy look like he is really close to being the true threat the Chiefs drafted him to be? How close is he, Nick?
Another year or so, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know. We'll see with each game if he continually improves.
Do you have any interest in going into any depth whatsoever on what's causing Worthy to run towards the sideline and out of bounds?
On which play?
Well, John's not specific because John knows it happens more often than not. Doesn't seem like accuracy, more like decision making.
So I'll talk about the red line yet again for another week.
There you go.
And we'll just make the red line a part of this, dude. Hey, does it take photos? Like if I find a photo, I can't plug it up there, can
I? No. If it's a JPEG, you can, or a PDF rather.
I don't know. Because you remember when I standing next to you at practice last week, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take a photo because I know we're gonna have to talk about this again."
If you can send it to me, I can put it up.
Okay, I'm gonna text it to you right now.
Okay.
So this is from practice. Matt and I were out a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't remember, but we were there. I think you just got it.
I was there, yes, and I just got it.
No, I know you were there.
I was just confirming that part of the story for anybody who needed to have it confirmed.
So I deliberately took that during our open period. That is during an open period, so we were allowed to do that. But what I'll talk about is on the football field, there's this thing called the red line. Pat's even talked about it in the press conference. So there's the red line is in between the numbers and the boundary. It splits right down the center between it. And so what the purpose of the red line is they ideally do not want you drifting past that. Like stay on top of that. If a corner presses you outside of that, climb back on top and get back on that red line. Because the red line is supposed to give room for error on a throw. It's supposed to give the quarterback that to where they can get from that where the red line's at to the boundary and be able to make a throw that can stay within that realm. Because pinpoint accuracy, some quarterbacks they can do it, some quarterbacks can't. Some quarterbacks have pressure in front of them, and some, have the cleanest pocket in the world, like Trent Green did, where he could have 7 seconds back there to throw on every play behind that 0-3 Chiefs O-line. But for Worthy, he's still, I think, learning that red line and how to stay on top of that. Because there's times where corners will try to push him towards the boundary and try to get him out of bounds, so it eliminates him as a threat on the play within the time length that they need. And so that's what they try to do with him. The Bengals did it and got an interception off of it with Cam Britt Taylor. I may have not had those names in order, but I know it's all part of it. It might be Cameron
Taylor, Cam, Britt, something like that.
Something like that. And then like Worthy he drifted in that Bucks game to where I'm like, dude, stay on the red line and you got a walk-in touchdown, and he didn't. But then the next week, the corner tried to press him out towards the boundary, and then he climbed back on top a week later and did that. And I'm like, all right, buddy, that's what I'm talking about. A week later, he got it. That's what I'm talking about. So you saw that growth from him. And Matt, where are we at on this photo?
We're still working on it.
Holy heck, man.
I converted it to a PDF and it's disappeared. I can't find it.
What are we doing here, Matt?
I can't find it, Nick.
Oh, my goodness. So I'm at a point where I'm about ready to just share my screen with an email.
I found it.
Okay, good. I'm gonna let me know when we're finally ready on this, because this is visually gonna help. It'll help people a lot more than I think they realize. And you may have seen it at training camp, because they painted at training camp too. So there's with receivers, this is the number one thing you have to teach a lot of the young receivers. John Baldwin never learned it. And John Baldwin had Matt Castle and Brady Quinn throwing him the ball that weren't going to give him accuracy in any way, shape, or form. So Baldwin always drifted, and then the ball would carry out of bounds. So then people are like, oh, that quarterback didn't make a great throw. No, he threw it to where the guy was. There's sometimes where they can't see exactly where they are. They're trusting that they're on the red line sometimes because they may not have a clear view of everything. They just see where they're at, and they're like, okay, they know they need to be on the red line. Boom, toss it. Oh, no, that's 5 yards out of bounds because you drifted. All right, awesome. And so, like, that's something I don't think people take into account because they think the quarterback can see the same exact thing that they can. All right, Matt.
I'm trying to do it again. It's the first time it said there was an error.
Well, you might as well just go to the next question if we're going to lightning around this thing, and we'll circle back to it at this point because I tap danced as long as I could for you, buddy.
Yes, I don't know if it's too large or I have done something, but lightning round. Regardless, there's a red line on the field.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do this sometime, Nick, and
at this point, I'm going to send it to
crashed. It's crashed again. So,
right.
I guess we're moving on.
Yes, Matt. That's exactly what we're doing on Lightning
Run. Let's see. Oh, here we were. Sharon, what are the risks of playing McDuffie in the slot?
You're not playing him in the slot. He's your number one corner.
I mean, if you do that, you're playing the other corner more snaps.
You're playing a number 3 or a number 4 corner outside then, if that's what you're
Josh Williams or Chris Roland Wallace is going outside.
Yeah. Trent Duffy's your number 1. If he wants to get paid like a number 1, he's got to play number 1 receivers. Plain and simple.
And no reason to. And I'm gonna see if I can find it. Did I move it somewhere else? There was was gonna try to fold another McDuffie question in here. There we go. Dez. It was Dez. Dez, who also, by the way, Nick, I don't know if you saw that. He says he is Mahomes' burner account. So
no, he's not. Patrick's busy right now.
Is it a concern that McDuffie hasn't had an interception? I know he's great in coverage, but I mean, I think I have the answer for that, but I'm curious about what your thoughts are. You get to go first.
Okay. I mean, if the guy doesn't get in the end zone and he stops him, that's all I care about. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the way you create interceptions is your D-line pressures and you have extra defenders that force stuff into tight windows. Like, that's how interceptions happen. For example, you take Chamari Connor's interception that happened. You want to know what happened on that play, Matt?
What happened on that play? Lay it on me.
Dawson Knox stopped on his route, and Josh Allen thought he was going to continue to go, but Dawson stopped. But guess who was there and made and decided to make a play off of it because he read the football? Chamari Connor, and he had a big interception, and that stopped a drive and stopped points, and the Chiefs went down and scored points off of it. But that happened because he was in the right place at the right time when Dawson Knox played a game called Stop. And Chamari won. He got a highest score. And so, Trent McDuffie's not doing that because Trent McDuffie's going against number 1 wide receivers. So the quarterback's going to have some pinpoint accuracy when he's throwing that way. So am I worried about it? No, because he's going against these things called number 1.
I mean, I feel like my simple answer for this is just that he's a corner. And if he had good hands, he would be a wide receiver. But, I mean, he also has, it's Trent McDuffie. Let's face it. He's shorter than most corners. He has shorter arms than most corners, and he has smaller hands than most corners. He defends everything though, so I don't care because he's better with his feet than any other corner out there, and he's probably smarter than any other corner out there. So I will take the fact that he's got bad hands in exchange for all the other things that he's awesome at.
And on top of it, he is going against number 1 wide receivers, and sometimes quarterbacks don't want to throw at him.
There's a lot of guys that don't want to throw it.
So if they're not throwing to you, you can't get interceptions sometimes.
This is very true. Paul, thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins playing less than 50% of the snaps?
Don't care. As long as they're out there in the field and they're able to utilize them, that's all that matters to me. And he's probably still learning part of the playbook, and there's probably certain parts of the offense they're wanting to put him in, and especially if he's there in the red zone and he's there on the conversions they need to do on short down and distances, those are the number one spots that they need him. And if he's there in the first 15, those are other spots where I hope they have him. But they need to manage him just like they need to manage Kelsey, and they need to manage others so that they don't wear them out by the time they get to this thing called the playoffs if they don't get a first-round bye.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up. I mean, I can't really add too much to it. I think it is a little bit of just workload management, making sure that they keep him fresh and healthy, and backing him off if there's ever any concerns.
Oh, Matt!
Look at what Nick did here. Look at that.
Took matters into my own hands.
There you go. It's the red line.
See that red line, people? See that red line right there? Do you see it? It is right in between. It is directly in between, evenly spaced between the numbers and the boundary. The boundary is where that white line is on the outside, where some receivers drift sometimes, and the numbers is the other thing. So teams like to use what I like to call is they like to use the hashes, they use the numbers, and they use red line, and then you see the front pylon and back pylon. Those all can be the equivalent of landmarks for some players' routes and what they're supposed to do and what the quarterback uses as part of the anticipation and part of their targeting. So think of it like target practice. Some of those things are what they're supposed to cut off of. So whenever you get to a 7-yard out, you cut off this on this hash at this spot and this thing. Bill Walsh was like that. Bill Walsh was like attention to detail from everything I'd read on him. Like his attention to detail, he expected you to know the exact blade of grass you were supposed to cut on. Almost. I know it's a gross exaggeration, but it's reality.
Not far off, no.
But whenever you see a player, and whenever I talk about the red line, is you see it's evenly spaced between boundary and numbers. So that is where they quote unquote want you to climb back on top of a route, and anything from that red line to boundary is what gives the room for error. So if a quarterback has to make a throw, that can happen. So for somebody like Xavier Worthy on that deep pass that he threw, or that Mahomes threw to him, I'm just gonna say it this way, Matt. Like if Worthy, I know this sounds crazy, but part of me when I was watching it this morning, I was like, if Worthy throttles back a little bit, instead of screaming on his route right there, going the true 4.2 speed, if he throttles back a little bit and then he explodes to catch up to it, I genuinely think he catches it between the red line and the boundary, and then he can turn up and run in for a touchdown. But that's just me. Could be wrong. A lot of people told me I was wrong. So we'll see.
I like it, Nick.
And that is how I met the red line.
That's how you met the red line. I should have put up the pic. If I could have done it, I would have put up the picture of the testing of the paint that you noted. Remember when the grounds crew was clearly out there testing different colors of green paint to cover up the stripes on the field? So they had to change it back from college to.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. It took me a minute, but yeah, I remember walking by that. But I had a camera and tripod with me at that time.
I did take a picture of it, but it'll be for another time, another day.
All right.
Jesus with the super chat coming in. Did Nick talk lawnmower again?
Nope, not today.
We did talk car insurance, Jesus, and auto insurance. So
yeah, of people trying to put who's more at fault.
Yes, it's for the lawyers and the insurance companies to decide. When will we see diamond formation in the regular season? Or you save it for the playoffs, Nick?
I have absolutely no idea, but I hope to see it many times over in red zone work, and end zone work, and playoff work, hopefully Super Bowl work, a championship work. Hope to see it in all the works.
I love that formation, man. That was, we talked about it on the 41 is the mic over the weekend, but that was, I want to see that a lot more, Nick.
You don't want to wear it out, but you definitely want to use it again.
Okay, here, how about I put it this way? I would rather see that more than the shovel pass.
Oh, I think anybody would want to see that more than the shovel pass.
We're kind of over the shovel pass, aren't we?
I think, yeah, everybody is, except South Carolina that used it on Saturday.
Oh, like you had to bring that up, Nick.
Hey, it happens.
All right, we are getting close to the end here, so I'm kind of looking for some questions now that are just a little bit different than anything else that we've talked about. So if I skip over your question, just know that we probably answered it a little bit earlier or a version of it there. So, if Nick, if there's anything you see that you want to talk about, I am all over it. This is the most exciting part of the. Here we go. We'll go with that one because we actually haven't had this one yet as a question, Nick.
We have not. No.
Are you interested in Xavier Howard?
I'm curious what price is at and how his knee's doing. I mean, if they have him in for a workout, but it's not a good sign when the Browns have you in for a workout and they give you an offer and you don't sign. It's not good. And that happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to play for the Browns either if I were Xavier Howard, but
but if you leave there without, you know what I'm saying? If you leave there without an offer, without signing, that means your market's not going well.
I mean, if you visit the Browns, that's a bad sign. And if you walk away without a deal, it means something's not quite right. So, and I would assume that 31 knee problems, there's a lot of concerns there. So, hey, I mean, if you want to bring him in for a workout, sure, but that's, I think, the first step. This would not be a, hey, come on, be on the practice squad. No, this would be, I want to see you on the field a little bit first. Let's get a little bit, see what's going on there. The Choro, why has the tackling been worse the last two games? Have you noticed that, Nick? I know tackling certainly seemed to be a problem against Buffalo, and maybe a little bit against Denver. I mean, is it just fatigue? Just these 3 games in a row that they've had?
Could be, man. Could be.
I mean,
they're giving everything they physically have available right now, and it's just not the same right now. It's certainly possible.
We know fatigue was a problem against Denver. Andy even just told us that because coming off the Monday game against Tampa, in theory, it shouldn't have been as much against Buffalo, but I got to think that just the sequence of those 3 particular games in a row had to be exhausting to this team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Like I said, yes, if there's anything that I'm missing, Nick, feel free to, even though I know you would love for this to be over so you can go eat. Definitely the most exciting part of the podcast is watching me read.
It's what I tune in for personally.
Everybody comes in to watch Matt read the questions. I know you make no predictions about the game, but Cody, I think the Chiefs are going to win this one comfortably. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if they have to worry about.
I got a 14-point win, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary. I mean, if you really want to talk about the left tackle position, go back and we talked a lot about left tackle earlier tonight. So
I knew. Look, when I came into this thing, I knew it was going to be on 3 things. It was going to be on Xavier Worthy. It's going to be on Mahomes. It's going to be on the left tackle situation. I knew that's what most of the questions are going to be, and nobody disappointed. Nobody.
Would you want to start Carson Wentz this week, Nick?
No.
I mean, it's not the worst question in the world, Pano. I mean, I've seen worse questions.
Oh no! Put Pano's thing back up there towards the end.
The other one?
Oh, put Pano's thing back up there. What he said towards the end there about why he wants Wentz to start.
There you go.
Problem with Pat is he has too much non-football stuff going on. His hunger and motivation, it seems, is gone. It's not gone. If it was, he wouldn't be playing football right now. You see that dude on every play when he's doing the hand thing. He wants to play because he's a competitor. He wants to go out there and compete. You think he's not bothered by the fact that they didn't beat Buffalo? Of course he is. He wants to win. He's irritated that Josh Allen got another one over him, and that's going to drive him in the weeks ahead. That'll drive him. They play again in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, to say something like that he's got too much non-football stuff going on. Come on, get out of here with that. That's nonsense. Those commercials he shot during the summer. Just because they're playing now doesn't mean he's doing them right now.
I mean, I'm going to back you up on this one because I can safely say, I mean, this has been
Dude's trying
something
to
that's
chase Brady, man.
he
Okay.
is trying to face Brady. I mean, that's the thing, is that he's not going to have a football motivation problem until he gets 8 Super Bowls. Then he might have some motivation problems, but until then, I mean, and I've noticed this. I mean, going back to covering Mahomes from beginning of his NFL career, obviously, and studying him in his past and everything. The thing about Mahomes is that he likes things that are hard. And if you want Mahomes to have a long, healthy NFL career, you want him to be challenged. You want him to have things like this because it's what makes him better. I mean, it drives him. Now, will he tell you that he didn't have a lot of fun last year? Yeah, but you know what he says was a lot of fun? Winning the Super Bowl. So
trying to say the hunger and motivation's gone when he's trying to chase history that's never been done before, the three-peat. Get out of here, that nonsense, Pano. Nonsense. Get out of my face.
Okay, Pano. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry, Pano. He doesn't mean it in a bad way.
See it anymore. Nonsense. What kind of mom papa ration we run here right now, Pano?
Okay, this is actually a pretty good question. Sparkle. Don't teams normally keep giving the ball? Or no, this is not the question I thought it was. Don't teams normally keep giving the ball to the guy with the hot hand? Worthy was that in the first quarter, and that was that? I mean, script, Nick. It was on the script.
I don't have any more to say about it.
I think that pretty much sums it up. But
like people wonder why I wear down as an hour and a half goes on. It's because it's the 3 same questions asked in different ways.
I was going to touch on the subject of why do guys keep throwing the football into the stands when they score?
I don't know. I think it still comes out of their paycheck, so it's expensive to stay.
I mean, I know, I think they've backed off of it a little bit. That they don't, and you no longer get flagged for punting the ball. But, yeah, I mean, if you've seen some guys like their first touchdown, they chuck it into the stands, and then somebody's got to go try and track it down for them and everything. I don't get it.
Man, I got nothing.
All right. Well, next to last question, maybe. Brian, best biscuits and gravy in Kansas City?
No idea.
What? Do you not like biscuits and gravy?
I eat them wherever they go. I'll eat them at multiple places.
Now I'm going to make 2 more questions just to punish you. But the next question is, expecting Butker back? Probably 3 more games. I mean, all indications were going to be 4 weeks. So if it's more than 4 weeks, it'll be a little bit of a concern. But
is he back before the playoffs? All that matters.
All that matters. Ribeye or a tomahawk, Nick?
Which one's free? If it's free,
probably the ribeye, because a tomahawk, I mean, those are expensive.
Yeah, if it's free, I'll eat either one of them.
And how excited are you for the Hallmark Chiefs movie?
What Hallmark Chiefs movie?
Oh, I know you know about the Hallmark Chiefs movie.
Yeah, I retweeted it last week, but I don't have it marked down. I don't know when it's happening.
Question is, do you know about what is it? Is it the Lifetime knockoff Hallmark movie?
I can't say that I do, Matt.
There's a knockoff movie that
didn't have any advertisements in the coach's film I was watching today.
There's another cable network with a knockoff movie that is basically a knockoff of the Travis Taylor story, where a professional football player apparently shoots a shot with a pop star or celebrity woman of some sort, and I guess hilarity ensues or drama ensues, because I'm sure it's not very funny. I'm sure it's just mostly dramatic.
All right.
So there you go.
Can't say that I'll be rushing to watch it.
I'm waiting for the movie version of our podcast.
Who's going to play you, Matt?
That's a darn good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm fairly enigmatic. I think I'm uncastable.
All right.
Who would play you, Nick?
I don't think there's anybody in the world that's angry and bitter enough to play it.
For some reason, I was thinking comedian Bill Burr. I think he could pull it off.
He's going to have to gain about 300 pounds to accurately portray it.
Oh, Nicholas, what am I going to do with you?
No,
All right.
feels like
Thank
the
you
wheels fell off on this one.
once again. Thank you for dropping by, my friend. I greatly appreciate it as always. Everybody, thanks for the questions. Like I said, if we didn't get to yours, chances are we answered a version of it earlier in the show. So definitely check that out. I know it's 2 hours, so you play back at higher speed. We don't talk super fast, so you can keep up. It'll be fine. You can probably blow through it in an hour.
All right, I go by now.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Take care. Everybody, we will be back with 41 is the mic on your feeds Sunday after the game. Usually will probably still be a fairly late hour because of just the time frames, and Nick and I with the various jobs and duties, and Nick's going to be at the TV station until 10 o'clock news is completed. So probably will be late Sunday night, early Monday morning in your podcast feed for 41 is the mic. We'll be breaking down everything that happened between the Chiefs and the Carolina Panthers. Next week, next Tuesday, obviously we'll be back here for the live Q&A as always. Brian, I'm fat, bitter, and grumpy too. Well, I'm never as grumpy as Nick, so we all have that going for us. Love you guys, all of you. Thank you so much for making this an entertaining evening as always. Truly appreciate the conversation and the community. You are all the best. Have a great week, everybody. We'll keep you up to date on what happens out at One Arrowhead Drive throughout the week. Chiefs get back at it on Wednesday, and we'll have updates for you through ChiefsDigest.com and Nick over at KSHB 41 as well. So everybody have a great week. Take care. We will